Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Tamari, the AstroFashionista. For all of you that don't know, I'm a professional astrologer. I've been studying astrology for over 14 years now. I have a business, AstroFashionista LLC, where I help people navigate their lives using ancient astrology, also other new age tools, numerology. I'm also a certified Reiki practitioner. I use tarot cards, oracle cards, pendulums. I do it all. So I really want to go over the 12 zodiac signs in today's video. And I'm a Western astrologer. I know there's all types of different forms of astrology. There's Chinese astrology, there's Vedic astrology. I am a Western astrologer, even though I dabble in learning about all forms of astrology. So I want to go through the 12 zodiac signs. I'm going to do more videos in depth about everything astrology, from love to business. But today, let's just start with all of the basics. So without further ado, let's start with the first zodiac sign, Aries. So Aries is a fire sign. It's the first fire sign of the zodiac. And I have some notes, so stay with me if I'm looking down. Fire signs are all outspoken. They're self-starters. They're adventure seekers. They can be a little impatient. And Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, is probably, I would say, one of the most impatient. It's a tie between Aries and Sagittarius. Sagittarius is more tied to like a need for freedom, and I'll get to that in their section. But with Aries, it's almost like it's this like initial like go, charge, go, because it's ruled by Mars. And for those of you that are familiar with mythology, Mars was the Roman god of war. And so Aries has this like, let's go get them, let's fight, let's go, let's get them. They have a lot of energy. A lot of them are really big on exercise and just moving in general. And you can see that even in Aries as their children. My middle nephew is an Aries, and I just love observing like the energy in its purest state when they're children before the world starts to kind of change you. I also want to mention that, you know, we all are born, I didn't even like go into sun signs. So your sun sign is the sign, obviously, that the sun was in at the moment you're born. You have an entire natal chart. And your natal chart is like a snapshot, a representation of how the universe looked the moment you were born. So there's much more to us than just our sun sign. And I think a lot of people that don't believe in astrology, they're like, well, how can all these people that are in Aries all be the same? We're not all the same. We're like fingerprints. Everybody's different. We all have our own natal chart. But the zodiac signs are archetypes. And obviously there's a little truth in every sort of I guess every sort of like attribute that can be associated with people born under Aries. They might have it just might be expressed in a different way because your sun is sitting in a different house than maybe another Aries. And without getting too technical, and I'll go through decans in another video because there are 30 degrees within each sign, but for now it's just like all general 12 zodiac signs in the descriptions. So again, Aries is a fire sign. It's the first fire sign of the zodiac. Ruling planet, Mars, the ancient god of war. It's ruled by the ram, the symbol of a ram. So what does a ram look like? It's a big animal that has like these horns, right? And they ram into things. So imagine that Aries, like they want to charge and just move ahead. And ironically, or not ironically, Aries actually rules the head because every zodiac sign rules a part of the body. So Aries rules the head. And one thing that I notice about a lot of Aries, especially like when they're younger, they might have a lot of head injuries. They might get scratches. When they're teenagers, they might suffer from acne. Not saying that everybody doesn't suffer from acne, but Aries just has a lot of things. They might get migraines. I have a good friend that's an Aries. She always used to have really bad headaches. And that's because this part of their body is really emphasized. So they just one thing about Aries is they're very truthful. They like to speak their mind. And because it's the first sign of the zodiac, it's almost like an infant. And as you move through the 12 signs, it's almost like the signs evolve. So like Aries is the infant, Taurus is probably the small toddler, all the way till we get to Pisces, where there's kind of like this evolution in learning. And that's what I love about astrology, because it's like everything can be linked together, and it's almost like symbolic of how we grow as humans. So Aries is a very young sign. I hate to use the word immature, but it is associated with a sort of immaturity, because they're so instinctive in the way they behave. So they almost act before they think. And this can get them into a lot of trouble. That's really supported when you're like a business person, or you're wanting to jump off a cliff because you're on vacation or something. They're very brave. So that is, of course, something that's celebrated, but it also can get them into a lot of trouble. They might, curse their spouse out and say the worst things, and then like, oh shit, I didn't mean to say that. Sagittarians do that too. But it's almost like this need to act, because they have so much energy bottled up, which can get them into trouble sometimes. Many Aries make really great leaders. Like I said, they're great at entrepreneurship because they don't like being bossed around. That's actually a trait I would say of probably all three fire signs, but Aries and Leo a lot. They really don't like to be bossed around. So being an entrepreneur is probably good for them. They can come across as a little flighty and unreliable sometimes, just because they're impatient, so they don't like to sit around and wait for other people. They ain't got time for that. So it's not that they don't want to be, it's just how they were born. Another thing about Aries is it's important for them to surround themselves with other signs that maybe stabilize them. So Leo can actually be a good friend, because Leo's as a fixed sign. And I forgot to mention the modality. So along with every sign has a ruler, right? Every sign also has a symbol. We talked about the ram. It's modality. So there's three modalities in astrology. There's mutable signs, there's fixed signs, and there's cardinal signs. Aries is a cardinal sign, so they're initiators. They're about action. So Leo as a fixed sign can actually help Aries be a little more, stable and grounded. Hanging around Tauruses, the next sign after theirs, is actually really good for Aries. One word how I would describe Aries is initiator. Their lucky day is on Tuesday, and their opposite sign is Libra. And if you think about Aries and Libra, they're actually very different, right? Every sign has an opposite. Aries is, as the first sign of the zodiac, rules the first house. I'm not going to get too complicated into houses right now, but Libra rules the 7th house, and the 7th house is all about partnership and collaboration, where Aries is all about yourself. It's really about being selfish, which we all need to be selfish at times, right? Because we all need the energy of each 12th sign to be successful in life. But Libra as its opposite, there's a need for Aries sometimes to look to their opposite sign and really behave in that way to help them through life. So if they're going through life being a little bit, too selfish, or they're not thinking about others, really look to the opposite sign, Libra. Like, what would a Libra do? A Libra would be more diplomatic. They would be, helpful to their friends. They would really look at both sides. So that's why taking on the energy of the opposite sign is great for every zodiac sign. Some famous Aries are Maya Angelou, famous poets, Thomas Jefferson, Hugh Hefner, R.I.P., Colin Powell, David Letterman, Alec Baldwin, Sarah Jessica Parker, Sex and the City, Diana Ross, and Kate Hudson. Now, Aries in love. So both Aries, women and men, love the chase, right? It's almost like that part is like so much more exciting than actually being in the relationship sometimes. And I can really attest to this because I have Venus in Aries. Natally, I'm a Taurus, but my Venus is in Aries. So it's almost like this chase, this excitement. Like, they don't like to be ignored. Like, actually, they almost like, let me take that back. They actually like to be ignored. Like that kind of turns them on because they see it as a challenge. They don't want anything that comes too easily to them. So if you like an Aries, the worst thing you can do is like be all up in their face and like, oh, I love you, I love you. No, that's going to turn them off. You have to play a little bit hard to get. They like that. That's fun. They're easily bored. So if you're someone that's just a homebody and you don't like to really do things or try new things, that's going to bore them really quickly as well. That doesn't mean that Aries can't settle down, and obviously, you know, whatever is in their natal chart will kind of give more information about how they are long-term in relationships, but they need things to be exciting, to be, you know, loyal and to really give you the attention that you think you deserve. If you're dating or married to an Aries, it's probably better to let them take the lead because they are natural leaders and they like being in charge. And you'll also need to develop a thick skin because they're not ones to mince words. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Aries are people born from March 21st. Okay, so this changes every year because every year the sun moves into a different, moves into a sign on a different day. So I know these calendars are really confusing, especially if you're on the cusp. So that's why it's important to have a natal chart done or see an astrologer like me, or you can actually run your chart on my website, AstroFashionista.com. But for the most part, Aries usually are born between March 21st and April 19th.